Like and subscribe and click the bell icon to get new video updates.
Turkey's Erdogan voices skepticism on Sweden and Finland joining NATO. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan voiced skepticism Friday about Sweden and Finland potentially joining the NATO defense alliance, a sign of dissension in efforts to revamp Europe's security architecture following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The Turkish warning came a day after a landmark recommendation from Finland's leaders that the country should join NATO, and as Swedish leaders appeared ready to follow their lead this weekend, a geopolitical earthquake following decades in which the countries resolutely stayed neutral. The war in Ukraine transformed attitudes in both countries and has set off a broader discussion in Europe about how to defend against a more dangerous Russia. Leaders of most NATO countries have indicated they welcome Finnish and Swedish membership and believe it would strengthen the alliance. NATO leaders were expected to sign off on the expansion at a June summit in Madrid, or that was the plan until Friday's comments from Erdogan. At minimum, his remarks appeared to signal a desire to extract concessions about Sweden's willingness to grant asylum to members of Turkey's ethnic Kurdish minority, whose main political group Turkey has banned. While he stopped short of announcing a veto of any potential membership bid, the Turkish leader accused Nordic countries of harboring terrorist organizations, in reference to groups such as the Kurdistan Workers' Party, or PKK. The group is outlawed in Turkey, and it is classified as a terrorist organization by that country, the United States and the European Union. But Sweden has long tolerated it. The dispute showed that there were limits to NATO solidarity over the conflict in Ukraine, after nearly 3 months of fighting. Many NATO nations have channeled weaponry and other aid to Ukraine, and there is broad consensus that the alliance needs to strengthen its defenses against the Kremlin. But as discussions continue about how much to bolster NATO's presence in Eastern Europe, there are divisions about how exactly to respond. Erdogan's skepticism was a shift from previous discussions within NATO about the prospective membership bid from Helsinki and Stockholm, in which there was unanimous agreement, if informally, that the existing 30 members would welcome 2 more. Erdogan faces presidential and parliamentary elections in June 2023 at the latest, and his sharp attitude was likely to be at least in part aimed at his domestic audience, which has often rewarded a sharp attitude toward the Kurdish minority. But it would also strain relations with Washington at a time when they have been warming because of Turkish support for Ukraine during the conflict. It also could increase tensions with other NATO countries. The United States is seeking to clarify Turkey's position. Karen Donfried, the Assistant Secretary of State for European and Eurasian Affairs, told reporters. It is not clear to me that Turkey is saying they will oppose Sweden's application. The remarks come as Secretary of State Antony Blinken prepares to travel to Germany on Saturday for a meeting of NATO foreign ministers that will include the top diplomats of Finland, Sweden, and Turkey. The Biden administration has said it supports Finland and Sweden's potential membership bid and will work on ensuring support within the alliance, assuming the 2 countries formally make an application. If Turkey can be won over, the expectation is that the NATO leaders will formally approve the application at their summit in June. Then national legislatures need to ratify it. The full process could take 6 months to a year, officials say. Hungary, which is led by a Kremlin-friendly Prime Minister, Viktor Orban, may also be a question mark, although he has agreed to previous rounds of NATO expansion. Swedish NATO membership would raise the threshold for military conflicts and thus have a conflict-preventing effect in Northern Europe, Line told reporters about a report about membership that was sent to Parliament. Military non-alignment has served us well, but we are in a new situation now. Sweden also released a parliamentary report Friday arguing that NATO membership would raise the threshold for military conflicts and thus have a deterrent effect in Northern Europe. The document, titled Deterioration of the Security Environment, Implications for Sweden, refrained from casting judgment on whether Sweden should join NATO but noted that the country's security would be adversely impacted if Finland were to join and leave Sweden as the only non-member in the Nordic and Baltic regions. The invasion of Ukraine, which is a NATO partner but not a member, had shown the dangers of remaining outside the alliance's collective defense structure, it noted. The report also outlined the dangers of accession to NATO.